having trouble with these extensions. So let me tell you what I had to do, and let me get a light here. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of big old weld on the back side on both of these. I took a rotary file and used the file, got those down as far as I could. I even trimmed these up a little bit to clear those, because we have to get these as flush as possible on both sides. I did mark a right and a left. Right didn't get marked very well, but we had to do that to get everything to even fit. Unfortunately, this bike had a big old nasty weld on both sides. So let me show you how to do this. And another thing we had to do, and I'll show you this too when we get to the swing arm part of it, when we get ready to install it, is we had to remove these. And you'll understand why when we get to that point. Another thing we did while off camera was I made sure my shocks, the bushings inside the shocks, this may not apply to yours, but the bushings were too big and it came with another set of bushings, thank God. We used a 10mm socket on top of that, just pounded out the old bushings, and just used a hammer to pound in the new ones on both the top and bottom on both sides. So that gets us caught up to where we are right now. I thought for sure they sent me the wrong ones. It just ended up being a big old nasty weld. So another thing that I didn't even think about when I was doing this on the last episode, part 1 of this, is when we put these in there, and let me see if I can get this in. See if I can get a little better light up in here. But anyway, so we another thing you're going to have to do, and I didn't even think about this, is leave these loose. Do not tighten these up right now until after you get your swing arm up in there. Because when you tighten it in, it pulls it in more. And so we're going to leave them loose right now. And also, I figured out where it said we needed a 12mm spacer or a big nut. And I'll show you where that goes too, because I had no freaking clue where that went. So after grinding on that, trying to figure this out, which is why there's a part 2, because I planned on being a single part episode, it did not work out that way, unfortunately. So part 1 is going to be basically disassembly, and then part 2 is going to be where we are right now. Let me get these somewhat snug. Alright, so these are all still nice and loose. Now we get our swing arm, and now that we got those pieces removed from the camera's picking this all up. Apologize for that, but I had to take these little caps off, because even when the caps are on there, even with them loose, it's still a tight fit. And it may be a little too tight still. Let me get a little bit more here. See, it's funny how this works, because I did this just a few minutes ago and it worked just fine. Let me loosen this up a little bit more. And trust me, you're probably running the same issues I'm having right here with this. Yeah, there we go. See, it fits just fine when it's loosened up. So then you can slide your bolt in. And then where it came in, where it said 12mm spacer or big nut, is right here. Just because there's a lot more sticking out on the other side. So there, that big nut just happens to work. Ooh, alright, but anyway, so now we can go ahead and tighten this up. Now we got it. Hopefully this is the first time I'm using this GoPro, and we'll see how this turns out, if that ends up being a good thing, bad thing. Hopefully, yeah, that big nut may just be a, no, it's not. I may need to add another one. Let me get a hammer and beat that in. And, okay, so we're gonna, I might add another nut on there. Give me just a second, I had another nut ready. So we're just gonna grab a little bit smaller one. Hopefully that's enough threads. If not, we'll find some washers after this is all done. Take this off and I don't think 12mm would have been enough, to be honest. Maybe if you were able to get those caps on, which there's just no clearance. Oh yeah, that's plenty. Actually, I'd prefer that to be about half that size, but for what it is, I think it'll work for now. And when we're done with this episode, we'll probably go back and take that off and find some washers to put in there. 9/16 maybe. That's 9/16. Yeah, I like at least a few threads showing, but alright, so now that's done. We can tighten these up. Let's see how these, oh yeah, that'll work. I'm not sure how far we'll take this episode, because I think once you get to a certain point, it's pretty much just reassembly. But I kind of would like to get these tight, shocks on, maybe the brake, and then leave the chain for, I think the chain's pretty straightforward if you got it. Just tighten this up right here. I know what you're probably thinking. He's got a ratchet, but he's using this. Well, the ratchet don't like to work when it's loose. There we go. I didn't put any Loctite on these, but I promise you, when I get done with this, I'm going to go back and put Loctite on all this. I'm probably going to have to take this back off again. So, there we go. So that's on. This is pretty tight. We'll go back and double check everything. Let's get our shocks on. Let's see how hard that's going to be. Like I said, I did change these bushings out. So, and these wires, just ignore these wires. These are going to be my brake lights, which I will run different wires so it's a little more hidden. Let's make sure they're the same size anyway. So. But yeah, this was definitely a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. It's not like super hard, don't get me wrong. I'm just still trying to figure out those extensions, which is really weird. I don't want to get this too tight. I just still want to be able to move it. Alright, there we go. Let me get the other one on up top. That way I can put them in at the same time. But yeah, I was surprised there was no videos out there on how to install these. But I know a lot of people have done it. I know people that have put them in and not had any issues. So, you know, it just figures the time I want to make a video on it, that's when I have the issue. So, I smashed this finger there, so it makes it a little harder to get this. We'll pat this off. So it pays to have small hands, and it's what I don't have. I definitely don't want to knock that off. While I'm putting this on, I do want to, on future episodes, I do plan on doing some drag racing with these bikes, racing the Coleman against the Mega Moto, and that's not the right size. I also plan on, I got a fat tire mini bike hopefully coming soon that we're going to do some videos on. It needs restored, but it's super cool. So, you know, hopefully you guys like what I'm putting out there and you guys like and subscribe. If not, that's cool too. Feel free to comment on any of this. Have any questions, hit me up. I'm more than welcome to help you out. Alright, let's see if we can get these shocks on there. Obviously these may need to be turned, but hopefully this be. Oh, so there we go. Is that bushing gonna get in the way? That's all right. We can persuade that a little. I don't want to knock it over, but see if that one will hold in. I'm not sure how to do the other side yet because we're not. Is the brake gonna get in the way? That's the question. That's kind of why I wanted to do the brake in this episode. I don't know if you guys can notice or not, but this rear tire is definitely sticking out a lot further than it was before. It almost looks like the size of the Mega Moto now with the swing arm on it. There we go, that's tight. Alright, let me get this light back on. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can get this brake on. Let's get a little light over here. I think we want to run the brake behind that. In between there, is that going to be long enough? Might have to. That'll be alright. It's going to be tight, but I think we can get it. So I got that little spacer in there I got to take for my brakes, and hopefully it just slides right back on. I do not, these brakes just annoy the heck out of me, to be honest with you. There we go, okay, well, yeah. That's one that actually slid right back on, which was the first. Say that, and then that come back on. Let's get these boots started before we tighten anything down. Alright, shall I get them all away from it? Let's look at this thing. Let's see where we are. Don't even see where that goes in. That could be an issue. I think this brake cable is the issue. It's not far enough. It needs to go back. There we go. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to loosen that brake cable. If we can get it at least started, we can always loosen the cable. That's not an issue. Alright, let's loosen it now. It's not without its issues, I'll tell you that. Alright, so that loosened it up enough. We may even have to take this top one. See if we can get a little bit more. And this stupid light. In 2 minutes that goes out. Which is great if you're napping out here, but not when you're working on stuff. Almost tight. There we go. So we're definitely going to have to loosen this up a little bit more. Maybe with the shock on it, bring it to where it needs to be. Not be so tight, but we'll see. Too far. Oh, that's weird. This is off just enough. You know what? Oh, better than. Alright. this side. It's a little trickier than the other, I guess. Trying to get a light here so you can see. This is just a little bit more. Maybe we can get her to go in. Alright, there we go. We got her back together pretty much. This is definitely loose enough now that the shock's on. I'm not sure if I should have ran it on the outside or not. I think it's alright right there. Still might loosen this other one up. Just give me a little bit more. See if I can't figure out a way to run this. Maybe tie it back right here. That should loosen it up just enough, and it's not going to catch on anything up front either. But at least it gives me plenty back here, which is what I wanted. So the next thing we're going to do is put the chain on. We're going to grease this up because it's never been greased. And then it'll be done. So we'll be back with a finished video of it when it's done. Probably won't get a test ride of this thing. We're expecting ice tomorrow and then snow. So soon we'll have a test video of this. We'll have some drag racing in the spring. We'll also have some more mini bikes to work on. But stay tuned. You won't be disappointed.